I'm Katya Fell-Smith, founder of the Full Frame Initiative, a social change organization that worked with government and communities over 15 years to move the United States towards a country where everyone has a fair shot at well-being. And I'm delighted to introduce the Wellbeing Insights, Assets, and Tradeoffs tool, or WIATT. WIATT gives communities data about how major public good projects will affect people's having a fair shot at well-being so that those plans can be adjusted. Now, why look at well-being? Because we're all hardwired for it, that feeling of being whole collectively and individually. Communities with greater access to well-being are healthier, more hopeful, more resilient. Despite this, though, planning doesn't rigorously account for well-being, especially in communities with less power and voice. And because we don't attend to it, the benefits to people's well-being, not just their pocketbooks, are rarely distributed equitably. Furthermore, communities with less wealth facing more visible challenges, including the fallout of systemic racism and exclusion, are too often seen by outsiders as only having needs. There's a harmful assumption that there's not much worth protecting. Of course, that's not true. But it does mean that community well-being assets and strengths, the ones that contribute to belonging and stability and safety, mattering, access to resources, are undervalued, even destroyed, in the name of progress and public good. The loss of these assets has very real well-being costs, trade-offs of change that are not accounted for, and these trade-offs negatively impact health, wealth, and thriving. So even if the benefits of a project are fairly distributed, the loss of assets, those trade-offs, are often concentrated among those who time and time again lose more and gain less from this kind of project. This is a phenomenon we call well-being stripping. It accelerates harms, often in the name of progress. Now, infrastructure and built environment projects are intended to have deep multi-generational impacts, but the well-being stripping that too often occurs also lasts for generations. So as we repair our aging infrastructure, address climate change, and adopt new technologies, we urgently need new methodologies that help us avoid and heal the harms of the past, and build in ways that give everyone a fair shot at well-being. This requires understanding community isn't a monolith, that what makes community valuable may not show up on an assessor's map. We need rigorous, replicable data from scalable processes that center those who will be most impacted. Enter WIATT, a process enabled by a technological platform, designed for use when there's a significant public good project that will be undertaken, such as the extension of a public transit line, one that's early enough in the planning process that it could be adjusted. We created WIATT in 2022 at the invitation of the United States Census's Open Innovation Lab, and it's been through several rounds of piloting since then. It's not a push-the-button, get-an-answer tool. It has 5 rigorous phases: readiness, customization, representative sampling, analysis and meaning-making, and finally, plan adaptation based on the results. Here are a few key features that make WIATT really unique and impactful. First is community partnership. Credible messengers are people with lived experience from impacted communities who have credibility in those communities. They're hired in the readiness phase, well before data begins to be collected. So they're at the table from the beginning, working with government to customize the web-based survey to local context, culture, language needs. Their partnership is vital for planning outreach and getting responses from communities who may be distrustful or just feel their input's not going to be heard or valued based on past experiences with government and planning. And furthering trust, the data that results from WIATT is owned by community, not government. This data is the second key feature of WIATT. It's gathered via a 3-part web-based survey. In the first part, respondents scale the anticipated benefits and trade-offs of the proposed project. Questions all reflect key aspects of the evidence-based 5 domains of well-being framework. Surfacing community features that contribute to belonging and connection, safety, mattering, stability, access to relevant resources like food, clean air, and rest. Which of these existing features will be enhanced? Which will be threatened by the proposed project? The second part of the survey asks for more details in words, pictures, recordings about answers where survey takers indicated a loss would be likely. This provides greater detail about the trade-offs community members expect from the project. The third part of the survey gathers demographic information about each respondent. These demographic data are used in 2 ways. First, they're matched with federal data for the third key feature, the representation check. Does the sample mirror the community? If not, survey results won't be visible. Go back out, do more sampling until a representative sample is achieved. Demographic data are also used to disaggregate the quantitative and qualitative community insights that form the fourth key feature of WIATT. The disaggregation is vital to understanding the distribution of well-being benefits and trade-offs. Here, for example, are data from WIATT implementation in Kingston, New York, that shows the greatest negative impact on safety of brownfield remediation would actually be felt by lifelong residents, 30 to 44-year-olds, women, lowest income folks, Black African American respondents. Qualitative insights add texture to the quantitative findings, illuminating the trade-offs that should be examined and, if possible, mitigated in the project's subsequent planning. Together with a dashboard and key findings section, these insights support further targeted outreach to and discussions with specific underserved communities to identify and address the anticipated harms and costs, like those safety deficits that we looked at a minute ago. The fifth key feature of WIATT is collaborative sense-making. Government and credible messengers come together to analyze the data and to design and deliver collaborative presentations back to the community that provided the data. In pilots in Cleveland, Ohio, and Kingston, New York, infrastructure and brownfield remediation projects, credible messengers and city leaders reported impact that extended well beyond those specific projects. Increased trust and civic participation, residents feeling seen and heard, well-being emerging as a common, unifying, neutral language that can be incorporated across departments and in government community collaboration. And more tools and interest in getting better representation in surveys and community processes, even beyond implementation of WIATT. By asking questions about well-being and mirroring community and government data via a protocol that requires actions and collaboration by both community and government, WIATT's process as well as its results all move towards the same goal, a fair shot at well-being. So let's go back to where we began. Imagine a future where people's well-being is the starting place for how decisions are made about what, where, when, and even whether we build. WIATT moves us towards that future. You can find more information about WIATT on the Full Frame Initiative's website. Thanks.